Hi, today we shall learn something about the active and passive voice in English. This is an area where students really find it difficult to use correctly. Vast majority of the students do make a number of mistakes here. So I will try to simplify it and make you able to use it correctly. The first thing that you have to understand is a verb can be used in two voices in English. A verb is an essential part of a sentence. The most essential parts are the subject, the verb and the object or the complement. So when we have these essential things in a sentence, the verb is the focus here. It is the verb that is going to be used in active or passive voice. Now, a verb denotes action and it is in relation to the action, that is the relation of the subject with the action that we have to understand. For example, when the doer of the action in a sentence is the subject, the verb should be in the active voice. For example, I am teaching you English grammar. It's I who do perform here, who does the action. So I am the subject. Understand? I am teaching you English grammar. But this sentence can be said in another way also. The object is English grammar. We can begin the sentence with English grammar. When I say English grammar, then the verb is not am teaching. It's not is teaching. It has to be changed completely. So we will say English grammar is being taught. So this change in the verbs, in the making of the verbs, is referred to as the active and passive voice. So what you should understand there is, when the doer of the action is the subject, we use the verbs in the active voice. Children play different types of game. Who play? Children play. People read newspapers. Who read newspapers? People read newspapers. But when we say newspapers, when we begin the sentence with newspapers, the verb is different. Newspapers are read by children. So this is something that we have to understand clearly. And I will show you, I will tell you something, to make it easy for you. The first thing is that, when the doer of the action is the subject, we use the active voice for the verb. When the victim of the action is the subject, we use the passive voice. That is what we have seen. People read newspapers. The action doing agency is the people. When people is used as the subject, we say people read newspapers. The verb read is in the active voice. But when we want to begin the sentence with newspapers, things have changed. Because newspapers is the victim of the action read. So when the victim of the action done by the subject becomes the subject, the verb should be in the passive voice. That is a simple reason why we say newspapers are read by people. This is what you have to basically understand. So I want you to understand this concept like this. The subject's relation with the verb. If the subject performs the action, if the subject in the sentence is the doer of the action, the verb should be in the active voice. If the subject is the victim, it should be in the passive voice. Because the victim is only one who bears the consequences of the action, he does not or it does not do the action. That is a simple reason why I said it should be understood in this relation. Now to have a better idea, we can look at the blackboard, at the board. See, there are some sentences. The examinations have been conducting regularly. Now here, the subject is the examinations. The verb written there, of course, is have been conducting. Whether it is right or wrong, you have to judge. Understand? But my question, my point is, the verb here is conduct, and it is used in present perfect continuous tense. My question is, the verb conduct, whatever tense it be, in relation to the subject, you have to think and understand. That means, do examinations conduct themselves? Or examinations, are they the action doing agency? Do examinations conduct something? Do examinations conduct something? No. Surely examinations do not conduct anything, they are conducted by somebody, some agencies, maybe the teachers, maybe the board of education, maybe the university. Anyhow, the examinations do not conduct anything. So this verb is wrong, because examinations is the subject and the verb is written in active voice. This is an active voice verb, have been conducting. This examinations is the victim. So we want a passive voice. Understand? We want a passive voice. So we shall change this verb and we shall write, the examinations have been conducted. See the difference. The examinations have been conducted regularly. By whom? It's not mentioned there, but it is understood. By the university, by the board of education, or by the teachers, anybody it can be. So that is the relationship I want you to understand clearly. If the doer of the action is the subject, we will write active voice. But if the victim is the subject, we have to write the passive voice. Here, in relation to conducting, examinations do not conduct anything. They are only conducted by agencies. So, examinations is only a victim, not a doer of the action. So, when we put examinations in the place of the subject, we shall use the verb in the passive voice. This is what I want you to understand. Now, examinations have been conducted by whom? You have to say, it's not necessary that you should write it, but you can write by the teachers for understanding, because teachers do conduct examinations. Now let us try to have a look at the active version of that sentence. That is, when the action doing agent, the teachers, come into the place of the subject. So we shall say, the teachers have conducted the exams regularly. Do you understand? The teachers have conducted. Now the teachers is the action doing agency. The teachers do conduct the exams. We say in the sentence, teachers have conducted the exams regularly. This is a major problem of the students. They do not distinguish between the action doing subjects and the victim subjects. So what I want to tell you is, before making a sentence, either in writing or speaking, you must think and you must find out whether your subject in the sentence is an action doing sentence or a victim of the action. If it is the action doing, you should write active voice. And if it is the victim of the action, you should put the verb in the passive voice. This is what you should understand. Of course, if you want to use it freely, the active and the passive voice verbs, you should know the active patterns and the passive patterns correctly. There are 12 active patterns and there are 8 passive patterns. We have to learn these patterns correctly. We must be able to identify or distinguish these patterns very correctly. Only then we will be able to use the sentences correctly. Now let's have a look at some other sentences. Some students say very often like this: I have been enjoyed with my friends. People who know English will surely laugh at it because they do understand the meaning. But the speaker does not understand. That is why such a sentence is made. I have been enjoyed. Naturally, a question, is made in the minds of the listeners by whom? You know that. But it looks very awkward and it's not at all, good. So we know that this sentence is wrong because the verb enjoy is both transitive and intransitive. Understand? It can be used transitively and intransitively also. Here the verb is used transitively and it is a wrong use. So you can say this is, the subject is I and he should do the action of enjoying. So it's very easy to correct. I have. You just cut off been. The whole meaning changes. I have enjoyed with my friends. I have enjoyed my holiday, or I have enjoyed the picnic with my friends. That makes sense. I have enjoyed. The verb is in the active voice. The action of enjoying is done by the subject I, and the sentence makes good sense. So again you see these two instances of using wrong verbs while trying to write passive voice. This is because the basic things are not understood properly. So we will just take a quick look at these sentences also. Christmas celebrates in the month of December. Many students write like this. Christmas celebrates in the month of December. Onam celebrates in the month of Chinga or September, August or September. This is a wrong construction because Christmas is not anything that does the celebration. The action of celebration is not done by Christmas. So there is a wrong construction in it. What is wrong? The verb is wrong. Because you have not written the action doing, that is the celebrating agency, in the place of the subject. If you put only the celebrating agency, the action doing agency in the place of the subject, the sentence will become right. So you shall say, Christmas is celebrated. See the difference. Christmas is celebrated in the month of December by Christians or by the people. So see the difference. Christians do celebrate, or Christians celebrate Christmas. Christians do the action of celebrating, but Christmas does not do. This basic difference you must understand if you have to understand and use correctly passive and active voice. See the other sentences. Plenty of food had damaged. Poor food. How can it damage anything? It can get totally damaged by somebody or by something. See the difference in the sense. Because this food is not an agency that does the act of damaging. That is where the students make mistake. So you have to say, if you want food as subject, plenty of food as subject, you should put the verb in the passive voice correctly, had been damaged. Plenty of food had been damaged. Or, if you want it in the active voice, you should bring the doer of the action into the place of the subject. That means, the children or the dogs or the cats had damaged plenty of food. But the action damaging was done by whom? That should be clearly understood. Similarly, look at the last sentence. Elections have held recently. Elections is the subject and have held is the verb. Elections do not hold. In whatever tense it is, elections do not hold anything, anywhere. Hold means conduct. Elections do not conduct anything. Elections are held. Elections were held. Elections will be held. by the government or by any agency. So we have to understand that relation. If the doer of the action, that is doer of holding here, it is not elections. So the verb should be in the passive voice because victim is elections. So we will correct the sentence as elections have been held. Now the sentence makes sense. Elections have been held by the government or by any authority or by any agency, no problem. So elections have been held. So I think I will summarize this discussion asking you to understand what is the difference between the active voice and the passive voice. If you want to use it correctly, you must learn the 12 active patterns where the subjects do the action. These are different verb patterns. The subjects do the action, and for that we use 12 different verb patterns, 4 in the present tense, 4 in the past tense and 4 in the future tenses. A student should be sure of these 12 verb patterns in the active voice. Then when it comes to the passive voice, that is where the object is used as the subject or the victim of the action is used as the subject. All verbs cannot be used, only transitive verbs can be used. You must understand what a transitive verb is. A verb that carries an object. No intransitive verb is used into the passive voice, So after understanding clearly the active verbs and the passive verbs, the transitive verbs and the intransitive verbs, if you clearly understand, when you want to make a sentence, when you think of a subject in the sentence, first thing that you should think is my subject a doer of the action or a victim of the action? Be sure, if it is a doer of the action, use the active voice. If it is a victim of the action, use the passive voice. This is what you should basically understand, and after knowing this, if you start studying the active pattern verbs and the passive pattern verbs, you will surely know how to make good and correct sentences in English. So I hope you have understood the importance of passive and active constructions in English language. This is one of the reasons why most of the students lose their writing and speaking module in the IELTS examinations. When the students write, they make a number of mistakes in this regard and they lose marks. When they come to speak also, they have so many mistakes, they make active and passive voice constructions wrongly, and the net result is that the communication is defeated. You mean one thing and you say another thing or you write another thing. So my dear friends, at Medcity International Academy, we give a very good training to help you to overcome this difficulty and do successfully your writing and speaking modules, and along with the other modules too. So I once again welcome you to Medcity International Academy, Kannur. Thank you.